Far-right protesters have stormed the Holiday Inn in Rotherham, South Yorkshire, where asylum seekers and immigrants are housed. Rioters have smashed hotel windows and went inside the hotel after clashing with police at a rally outside the premises.
So more protests are taking place this afternoon after ugly scenes developed and ugly scenes are developing outside a hotel housing asylum seekers in Rotherham, where riot police are trying to contain the crowds. Windows have been smashed and a fire has been started. Police have warned people to stay away from the centre of Middlesbrough, where some taxis have been smashed and businesses closed, and police are trying to disperse crowds in Bolton. More than 100 people have been arrested after demonstrations involving far-right groups descended into disorder in Hull, Liverpool, Bristol, Manchester, Stoke-on-Trent, Blackpool and Belfast. Several police officers have been injured. Well, the protests began after 3 young girls were killed in a stabbing attack in Southport last Monday and appear to have been fuelled by misinformation on social media. The Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has pledged to give police forces the government's full support to take action against what he described as extremists attempting to sow hate. And the policing minister, Dame Diana Johnson, told Times Radio those causing mayhem and disruption would be punished. Well, let's head first to Liverpool and talk to the city's Lord Mayor, Richard Kemp. Good afternoon to you, Richard.
Good afternoon.
Just explain what happened last night in Liverpool, because it seems as though there were some pretty violent scenes.
Well, there were 2 things happened in Liverpool yesterday. The first was a very big one in the city centre, and the second one last night was in Walton, a very deprived part of one of the most deprived, if not the most deprived constituencies in the country. There, a group of people turned up at about 8:30. Reports vary between 100 and 150 of them, just bent on causing trouble. Very few of them were local. A few will probably have come from Liverpool or the city region. And the fact that they were out to cause trouble is very clear from the fact they brought fireworks with them. They moved up and down County Road, really attacking the shops which had foreign names on. For example, I went into a Romanian shop today. But the fireworks, they loosed not into the air, they loosed them at people who were defending their shops, defending their communities in a most disgraceful way. Fortunately, if I could say so, the damage has been minimal to buildings. And in fact, the place looked spick and span when I went round there at 10 o'clock. The question is, what is the damage that has been done to the people, the resilience and the confidence of that community?
Was it clear to you from what you saw and heard that it was far-right groups that were behind this?
Absolutely. They were defiling the Union flag, the Union Jack. Their comments were obscene, coarse, and disgusting. And it was a total disconnect between that and what I saw on Tuesday when I went out to support the mayor of Sefton in Southport with the ordinary Southport people, sandground as they call themselves, turning up in respect, in silence, and out of absolute commiseration with the families of the 3 children that had died and those that have been seriously hurt. And I echo the words of the mother of one of those children when she said, basically, do not use our children's deaths to cause trouble in
And
our Southport community.
And we saw that in Liverpool there was also trouble, violence spreading right down to the riverside area, which has been developed across the city centre, where there were families, visitors. It must have been quite frightening for some of those.
Well, of course, that's something that there is in common with Southport, another tourist area of a slightly different type. We had in Liverpool at the time one of the big Disney cruise ships, something like, I would guess, quarter of a mile from where the real problems were originating outside the Cunard building and the whole of the waterfront. Now, what sort of impression does that give not only of Liverpool, but of the United Kingdom to people who brought their family to Liverpool? I met many of them earlier in the day coming around my own Penny Lane ward to have fun, to enjoy, to see the splendour of our pier head. Is that the impression that'll be in their mind? Or was it meeting a load of brutish thugs who had no resonance to anything that's English or to British values that they claim to espouse?
And we've heard from the Prime Minister, the Home Secretary, that the police have their full support. Like you, they have described those responsible for the trouble as thugs. Do you think that is the right response to what's going on?
Well, it has to be the right short-term response. These people have broken the law, and it's in British tradition that the lawmakers and the police forces and the court and legal system actually put these people in front of a court and make whatever sentence is considered appropriate. In the long term, though, there are more serious issues, in my view, and I partly speak personally here because, as Lord Mayor, I'm not a politician this year. How did this happen so quickly? In 1981, I was a councillor in Toxteth when the so-called riots went on. One of the differences between then and now is that it took weeks to prepare the antisocial behaviour and criminality in Toxteth. It takes minutes to do it now using social media. And once a rumour gets out, for example, that this was a Muslim young man who committed the offences, in fact, he
Yeah.
was a Roman Catholic, that gets out in seconds. 600 repeat it. When 600 repeat it, it must be fact. And then it just becomes the hard core of information on which those who don't bother to look at the fact that Rwanda is 96% Christian, but that doesn't matter now because the
Yeah.
fact is that it's a Muslim.
Sorry to interrupt you. So much to cover this afternoon, but really good to hear your thoughts. Richard Kemp, Lord Mayor of Liverpool, thank you very much indeed.